Since this is America,
I wanted somebody to give me a seal of approval. I did it because I felt unattractive. I felt that nobody desired me. And I didn't want to be wanted for my intellect or my wit. I wanted to be lusted after.
Now I want you to get down on your hands and knees.
His name is Jack Wrangler.
I'm sort of in the entertainment business.
The most beautiful blonde you've ever seen in your life, and then, oh my God, look what he's doing.
Jack Wrangler has starred in 85 X-rated films.
He was really one of the ultimate porn stars of all time.
I'll never forget that scene. It really turned me on.
A creature of the 70s, a creation of the 70s.
Nobody does it better than Jack Wrangler.
You couldn't open up a magazine without seeing him. He was everywhere.
It's his hottest role ever.
Jack was a reason to go see a movie. Slow and sexy.
And what's a nice boy like this doing in a profession like that?
I worked very hard to become Jack Wrangler.
The primary vibe that Wrangler gave off in these films was very, very convincing lust.
I have got to get laid.
He had this incredible virility, erection ability. Is that a word? It is now.
Oh, yeah, man.
He might have smoked a cigarette like this.
I can see myself at this bar. Jack Wrangler's coming on stage, and I was in the perfect spot. He came to me and had me take his boots off. And I held on to that boot forever until he was done.
Gotta call me Jack.
It was unheard of. A gay porn star was going to be a leading man in adult movies with women.
Now what?
Singer-actress Margaret Whiting has been a recording star for many years. She lives with actor Jack Wrangler.
There was general sort of disbelief.
Whoa, that's The Odd Couple defined.
Jack Wrangler has an amazing trajectory. You couldn't make this shit up.
That's for sure.
I was in the business of making porn for 8 or 9 years.
Well,
And yet now, 30 years later, whenever I do anything, if I write the libretto to a ballet, I did that. Or create a musical for Broadway or tour. No matter what I do, always in the papers, it will say Jack Wrangler, porn star. Now, it's been 30 years, and believe me, I wasn't that good. It will follow me the rest of my life.
getting it up, getting it on, and getting it off. Man, it's beautiful.
It's been a hell of a ride.
Here is a guy who was born not quite with a silver spoon in his mouth, folks, but I mean, he had it made. Here he was, Beverly Hills, California. Father, big producer, had a lot of money, lived in a beautiful home. How did you make the transition from that into pornographic film?
It made sense at the time.
I was born on July 11th, 1946. My home was 816 North Roxbury Drive, Beverly Hills, California, which was a very pretentious address. When we were growing up, we didn't tell people that's where we lived because we didn't want people to think we were snobs. My mom was Ruth Clark, a very attractive woman. She was a top model in New York and then became a Busby Berkeley girl. My father's name was Robert Stillman. My dad was an independent film producer. His first partner was Stanley Kramer, it was Stillman Kramer Productions. The first 2 major films was Home of the Brave and Champion. He also was involved in a wonderful film called Tales of Manhattan. I had 2 sisters, both of them were a little older than I, was the runt of the family. As a little kid, little is really the operative word, I was a towhead, which made me look almost bald. Also, I had one of those sort of misshapen heads that kind of looked like an alien, and big eyes, and this tiny little body that was attached to it. It was very uncomfortable looking. Your parents made sure that you were brought up very politely. You knew your table manners. You rode your bicycle to the local school, El Rodeo. We went to Elisa Ryan's dancing school. You had to learn how to ballroom dance, where you would take a handkerchief out of your pocket and put it on the girl's waist so you didn't sweat on her, and you bowed and curtsied. We were taught all this stuff. We grew up Presbyterian. Although my grandfather was Jewish, we could pass as this sort of Protestant Catholic family, so we could belong to the beach clubs and the golf courses. My father was a very, very private man. So private that there were 2 doors on his suite of rooms, so you would have to open one door and then knock on a second door. We were separated that much. I was not the kid that my dad had in mind. In the early 50s, every father wanted their son to be a jock. They wanted him to be muscular, at least. We had a swimming pool that had racing stripes on it. And Dad kept it at like 20 degrees. I mean, most people had heat in their pools. We didn't. He'd throw ice cubes in there. I was to swim 100 laps of the pool a day. He was so hoping that this little thing might grow into a bigger thing. I felt that I really, really let him down. I remember on my 7th birthday, he bought me a teepee. I didn't want a teepee. I wanted a hamster. Eleanor Powell was my Sunday school teacher. She was asked to do a Sunday morning soap series called Faith of Our Children.
My mom and all of the kids from the Sunday school would enact little plays, little scenes from the Bible. I remember Jack as being a shepherd a lot.
And at the end of every one of these segments, either she or I would look into the camera and say, remember, the family that prays together stays together. And that was the first time that phrase had ever been heard. Huge. That show ran 5-6 years, and there were Emmys all the time. I loved it. I wanted to do so much more. One of the stars that happened to go to our church, Buddy Ebsen, put together this thing called Vaudeville, and I got to be in it. I got to do a vaudeville sketch thing where I could remove my underpants without removing the rest of my clothes. Then I sang a song called Lullaby at Broadway, and I was a huge hit. I thought I was. I thought, this is what I want to do. I was hooked. My dad didn't want me to do any of this stuff at all. He never wanted me to go in the entertainment business because he didn't think I'd be any good at it. There was also this image of what a guy was if you were a film actor, and I wasn't what they would expect me to be, so he might have been protecting me because he thought I was gonna embarrass myself and the family. I remember passing my dad on the stairs one night, and he looked at me and frowned, and I stopped him, and I started reeling off the things I was doing. I got a television series. I was swinging 100 lengths to the pool. I'm making great grades in school. What do you want? And he said, I don't know. I said, well, you know, I'm always going to be trying to do stuff to please you. And he turned around and said, you got to get over that.
When I was a kid, I felt that that was one of the most important things to be a personality, to be bigger than life, and to be sexually desirable. I was taught that, not by my parents, but by the business that they were in.
Shall I say being an entertainer? I don't think that's quite the right word. Being an actor, I like being an actor.
What they showed on television was what the masculine image was. Westerns were huge. Also, the family image was very specific. Guys were not only uptight about what they thought they had to be, but so were parents. They thought, I've got to wear these beautiful gowns to breakfast. Everybody was living up to an image that had been created by Hollywood. After doing independent films for a while, Dad landed a new Western called Bonanza. Michael Landon was the youngest of the group that they cast. He was very good looking and well-built. He epitomized what really was the kind of the 60s stud. And at that time, they had what they called the beefcake shots. And Michael Landon was one of them. And I started collecting these pictures. I think a part of it was because I didn't have one of those chests. There was a certain envy about it. But I also found that I was physically attracted to these guys, to their masculinity and all the things that my dad had assured me I did not have. I was not identifying myself or anybody else I knew as a homosexual when I was a kid, or was one who was suddenly manifesting it. I didn't know, I just knew that a homosexual was a guy that dug other guys, but it was all connected with effeminacy, being girlish, being a sissy. My dad made it pretty clear I was a sissy.
Gay didn't exist, basically, and wasn't supposed to exist.
There was a wide swath through the gay community of self-loathing.
It was an embarrassment to a family. You were a mother's mistake. It just didn't happen.
You could be arrested for just being in a gay bar. That was really a scary thing, and so you wouldn't want to just run out and say, hey, I'm gay and proud. No, you couldn't do that at all.
Hollywood at that time, and it really hasn't changed that much, was so homophobic.
What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph was sick, a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious, a sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a homosexual.
The perfect family in the perfect cottage with a perfect picket fence. There was no room in that mythical MGM world for people to have same-sex relationships or even interests. You were closed off completely.
What I was sort of thinking as I was going through a phase, I enjoyed dating girls. I didn't feel threatened by them, but I was responding to them more intellectually than I was physically. But with guys, different thing. I was responding physically to them, so I figured, well, this is a phase. If I keep going with the girls, this other thing will pass. It didn't pass.
You didn't think that there was that you were gay or anything. You were just a kid starting to discover himself sexually.
My dad, in his wisdom, felt I better go to prep school. From the 8th to the 12th grade, I went to this place called St. George's. And I remember going to a little store, and there was a male magazine.
The erotic images available to gay men prior to the 1970s were largely gritty little photo magazines sold only under the guise of being physique magazines, bodybuilder magazines, health magazines.
On every page, it would have men wrestling in jock straps or posing straps.
I'd never even seen something like that before, so I stole it. That was very exciting to me. I thought, well, God, you got these really good-looking people. They seem to epitomize what I feel a guy should be. There's nothing effeminate about any of these people. And then I found I could order more male magazines because they had an order thing in the back. Suddenly, my trunk was filled. I picked Northwestern because I'm going to go into theater. Northwestern had a daily newspaper, and I planted a story in it. I sent them an article with a picture of myself looking very dramatic, saying that I was this big star, that I had done all these plays, and that I was just fresh out of New York. The front cover, the picture was half of the front page. Broadway star comes to Northwestern. Northwestern is right next to Chicago. At that time, they had as much theater in Chicago as they had in New York. One of the shows that I did in Chicago was a play called Dear Charles with Hermione Gingold. She was going to go from Chicago to New York with this thing, and I called her and said, I'd like to go. And she said, sure, I'll insist on it. Come to New York. I left for New York the next morning. We did the play there, which gave me an opportunity to start auditioning for other things in New York, which I did not get. I was very aware of my limitations. I was not a singer, and I couldn't dance at all except ballroom dancing, which nobody was interested in. As far as acting was concerned, I couldn't hold a candle to what these people could do in this town. I had no connections, really. I also was going around New York seeing that it was dirty. There was dirt on windowsills. In Beverly Hills, we'd never seen dirt on a windowsill. And there was this soot. One day I was passing this excavation lot on the way to audition for Carnival. And this huge rat came out of the excavation. I can't do this town, and left New York. But that's when dinner theater started becoming popular. There were a lot of stars who had been stars of the studio system, but their stars were not that big anymore. These people could get the star roles in a play that went out all over the country. I got a job offer to go to Lubbock, Texas, to direct one, so I started directing them. And it was one star after another for dinner theater. Like Jane Russell, Yvonne DiCarlo, Ann Southern.
As a dinner theater director, he had to deal with the fragile egos of a lot of these women who used to be a little more famous, and he had to make them shine, help them do their best, and deal with all their insecurities.
Pretty soon, I had this whole bevy of theaters. I could actually have 3 or 4 shows running at the same time, and I often would play one of the roles of the thing, so that was good too. My base was in St. Petersburg, Florida. I would go down to Tampa at night because that's kind of where the gay bars and stuff were after the show. I met a guy there. He was this really husky guy, all very masculine, a little stud. That was Judd. Andy Devine had been the sidekick in a television Western series.
Howdy, handsome.
He was a fat, sort of jolly man who was not particularly jolly at all in person. I'm directing a show with Andy, who's the homophobe of the world. I started seeing this guy, and I tried to keep it separate from the theater. But he liked hanging around, and one of the things he liked to do is sit at my feet, holding my leg while I talked to the stars. As a director, it was really wrong of me, but it just kind of happened. Well, Andy Devine didn't think that was too cool. He reports me to the producer of the chain. That was kind of it for me on the dinner theater circuit. I took Judd back to California with me. And by the time we hit LA, the guy was pretty sure that he wasn't excited about being with me for the rest of his life. The idea of it being this monogamous relationship was out the window as soon as we hit Santa Monica Boulevard. I was shattered, really shattered. I would wake up and just hurt so badly. Felt like I was in pieces, like empty. Part of my recovery was getting drunk. And that was it. I stayed home, and the minute I would start to feel a pang again, I'd go right back to the vodka. I did that for about 3 weeks, and then it was over. One day I woke up and I didn't feel it anymore. I went up to my parents' house in Santa Barbara. They had a gardener there, real good-looking guy.
You take care of all this yourself?
Well, we got together like that. Now, I had never discussed with my parents anything about my sexuality, but I started listening with the gardener. We were having dinner, and my father said, well, you're gay. And I said, what the hell are you talking? What do you mean? What the fuck, me gay? I not only denied it, I denied it vehemently and rose dramatically from the table. I didn't want to tell my dad. My God, I'd already been a sissy. Man, you don't know the half of it. Looking at myself in the mirror, I thought, wait a minute, I'm not a victim. What do I need? What do I have to do to be a player? And let's go out and get it and do it. That's when I went to the gym.
This is all part of my total fitness program.
The whole thing about working out is a high in itself. Pretty soon you start feeling confident. I went back to LA, whole again. I got an apartment in West Hollywood. By that time, I was very active sexually, and West Hollywood, you just had to go to the car wash and end up going home in somebody else's car. Sex was really rampant. It was the culture, and it was all swinging from the chandeliers.
Come on, George, we are going on the town.
In 1969, the concept of gay pride erupted. Suddenly it was all right to be gay, sort of.
People were no longer, I guess, afraid to let it be out there.
We were all coming out of the closet and discovering our empowerment. And we started dressing in flannel shirts and dungarees and leather jackets.
And the hair was always a certain way, and the mustache. It was just the revolutionary costume of the day.
It represented a completely different presentation of the gay self that the world had not seen.
It was almost as if to say, see, we're really not these Nelly Queens that we have been told we are.
The fact that a whole community came out of the closet at the same time changed our world.
And any of us who had any sex drive at all took full advantage of it.
There was a sense of freedom about sexuality. I found that there were guys that were not particularly effeminate, and that, of course, were into physical health and liked to play baseball. Funny, because then I started getting interested in sports. And there was a lot of drugs. It was fun.
God damn, does that make me feel good?
I finally was becoming part of something. You had to make your rent once a month. Everybody had ways of doing it. The biggest way was to get on a quiz show. Dating game and newlywed game were the top ones. I did the dating game and I won. And I thought, now what the hell am I gonna do? I don't wanna go on a date with this. Oh, she was very nice too. She thought she was gonna get laid. It wasn't gonna happen. And I knew she was so disappointed, and I went home. I auditioned for medical center and got one line. They went that way, or something was the line. I think I had to do it like 20 times. I was not invited back to medical center. And then I did a Mod Squad. Again, it was some walk-on thing. I'd also done a movie at this point called The Bus Is Coming.
He is going to use you and your brother Steph to tear this town apart.
It was a black sensationalistic film, which was perfect for me.
What in the hell are you doing here, honky?
Then I auditioned for the Christine Jorgensen story. Now, the Christine Jorgensen story is about one of the first men that had the operation and turned himself into a woman. They put me in this female makeup to do the test for the thing. The director looked at me and said, Jack, you can never, ever play a woman. And I thought, ha! Butch man! I was so thrilled. It was the greatest role I ever lost. Then I took a job at one of the gay bars. There was go-go dancing in some of these bars, strippers, of which I became one. You danced in a dance. That was funny too, because I didn't know how to dance that way. I remember I was a ballroom dancer. I could do a mean foxtrot, but I didn't know how to do the other stuff. But I did it on this little platform. Your feet get all dirty. At that time, you always did an overbite. So you look like you're really into it. This friend of mine was doing a thing at the Paris Theater on Santa Monica Boulevard. That was hot jocks. Dancing again, which I do not do. I said, well, maybe I can do a sort of acting piece. I'm gonna be a guy that goes into a desert and it's hot, and I take off my shirt and I can feel the heat, and the pants come off, and I remember having boots and trying to figure that I'd never get them off and make them look sexy, and going into this whole sort of personal ecstasy. And it worked. People were coming out of the back rows and moving down center. So I thought, my God, I think I might have something here. I'm in rehearsal for the opening, and I'm thinking, I don't think Jack Stillman really works with this. I'm also thinking, Actors Equity is going to take a dim view of my doing this. I was wearing a Wrangler work shirt. I took the thing off, and I looked at the label, and Wrangler, Jack Wrangler, that's not bad. It was masculine over the top.
As you get more turned on, you feel sweat on your chest.
At that time, I was offered a play in San Francisco called Special Friends. They wanted me for the role of this ex-hustler from Arkansas who wanted to be a go-go dancer but didn't know how. I thought, this I can do. I did a complete strip in the thing and did full frontal nudity, but that was not unusual at all for plays at that time. If we didn't have it, it wouldn't have been a 70s play. There were announcements everywhere and pictures of me. And there was Jack Wrangler everything all over town. My sister, who lived in San Francisco, not even knowing that I was there, is calling me and saying, Jack, are you Jack Wrangler? I'm the darling of San Francisco for 5 minutes. While I was doing Special Friends, I did the first cover of a lot of gay magazines. And most of them had me ripping off a t-shirt. Then somebody came to me and said, I would like to do a thing called Jack Wrangler Making It Big in San Francisco. He said it'd be a pictorial. You meet this guy, and then you take him down to the beach, and you have sex with him. And I said, well, why not? And one might have thought that this would be an extreme. I mean, there might be a line that somebody would not step over. I couldn't understand sex was sex, and we're gonna do it in a magazine. Why not? One thing led to another, as they often do in San Francisco. I was asked to do a couple of what they called loops, short films.
Gay porn films at that time were gritty little things that had no actor names, often no titles on them.
They were sold through magazines, they were sold underground.
You got an 8mm version of it, try to run it on your own projector, and the damn thing would go off all over the floor, and you spend the rest of the night trying to untangle the knots. Well, I went up to this ranch, and I did this whole beat-off thing. Apparently, I did it very well. They were sold, and I was paid.
They would put 3 or 4 of these loops together, and they had a feature film. Those were the first movies.
Sound 43.
When we started out, there was no gay film industry. And there were just a few people making movies and hoping someone would allow them to play them in their theaters. I wanted to explore the life of all-American, blue-collar, average man off the street. I wanted to portray men who would just lead regular lives, except they're having sex with other men.
You fucking faggot.
Something kind of problem for you?
Almost every gay character you ever saw in a mainstream film was a mincing, self-loathing fairy. One of the things that we were trying to do, and the people who wanted to be part of this, was to say, this is who we are, this is what we do, and look, we're everybody. The first film that I made in this genre was called Kansas City Trucking Company.
Have you ever wondered about truckers, or about how men get it on with each other?
I saw Jack at an 8mm loop, and he just was so strong, so dynamic. It was like this force of nature appeared out of nowhere. And I said, we gotta find this guy. The first thing he said to me was, I'm not as tall as you thought I was gonna be, am I? And I said, don't worry about it. On the screen, you're very, very big.
Kansas City Trucking Company, I played the dispatcher, and people would dream about me.
We were shooting in film in those days instead of tape, so we never knew what we got until like 3 days after we shot. When the rushes came back, the money shot was out of focus. Someone told him, we're really sorry, but production money is all spent. We're gonna have to scrap your big scene. And he said, oh, I'll redo it again for free. And he did. We gave him star billing. We took ads in the New York Times before it opened. We really beat the bushes to get everybody in to see it.
It was, I think, one of the first to have posters on the subway, which was a little unusual. I do remember looking at it and realizing, this is a porn film.
Box office was good. There were lines around the block. It got taken seriously. Variety reviewed it positively. It became a huge American sensation.
That was one of the groundbreaking films because besides being extremely entertaining, the men were masculine.
It was a milestone in gay X-rated porn, and I was very proud to be part of it.
As members of the gay community became encouraged to not be ashamed of their sexuality and not be ashamed to look at their sexuality, gay pornography was the perfect vehicle to do that.
Gay porn entered a golden age, ambitious young directors in New York and Los Angeles made feature films.
Wakefield Pool movies, Boys in the Sand, that was a biggie.
Boys in the Sand was the first gay hardcore film that received some notice in the mainstream press. It was presented as a piece of art.
And much of its success was due to its star, Casey Donovan.
The filmmakers at that time had more artistic aspirations. They're very hot, but there's a certain lyricism in some of these films.
They set a tone. They were rebels, these filmmakers. And there were plenty of porn theaters, especially in the big cities. We had the Gaiety, we had the Ramrod, we had the Eros, the Big Top.
The Bijou. It was a storefront that had been converted into a theater.
The Evergreen, long gone.
And the 55th Street Playhouse, they were all magical.
I remember quite vividly the first one I ever went to. I was scared to death.
You stepped in through curtains. There was this very small room with a very small screen, very dark. So I had never imagined seeing on a screen what I was seeing.
So there it was on a big screen.
Why don't you take off your shirt and we'll get at it?
I was just shocked. I was in total spasm, titillation, like pinpricks all over my body, because I was, of course, thinking, oh my goodness, there we are, and look what is possible.
We call him the Jingler. He's an artist giving head. You'll get to know them all.
I was amazed not only at what I was seeing on the screen, but what I was seeing in the seats.
It had two functions. One, you actually got to see this stuff bigger than life, but at the same time, it was a social center. You met people there. And because it was a sexually charged environment, you tended to get to know them really well right away.
Gay porn movies were among the first gay movies. For the first time, we saw ourselves reflected dramatically. We had never had that before, the reflection of ourselves in art.
Oh, well, do you have any plans? There's a new Fassbinder film playing at the New Yorker.
Gay porn, certainly to gay guys, was not only acceptable, but desirable, and the guys that made the gay porn were heroes.
There's an enthusiasm which has affected all of us to produce a better and better type of male homosexual film.
Jack DeVoe had a reputation as being a kind of crazy genius. What he was doing was tough and gritty, real interesting work.
That's an excellent answer, Brett, don't you think?
Yeah. Jack DeVoe was a little nuts, but you have to be in this industry.
We decided to get into this type of filmmaking because we saw that there was a new kind of freedom evolving in film. Also, we really had intentions of going mainstream at some point.
We were bitten by the movie bug.
Using these kinds of things to learn how to make movies. And the name of the company that we formed was called Hand in Hand.
At the present time, we have 5 or 6 pictures in production.
They always got things done. It was an amazingly well-run organization, Hand in Hand Films.
When I had seen Jack in all the magazines, I always thought him as being this big Marlboro Man type, kind of intimidating. When I actually met him, everything was 180 degrees the other way. He was very nice, and his physique was extremely good, but he was on the short side. It made me appreciate the wonder of film. I might add, he had a beautiful cock. Jack Wrangler came here to do 3 movies with us.
Jack Wrangler, America's fastest rising gay porn star. Hand in Hand Films presents Hot House.
Roger, this big star in a magazine called Blue Boy.
Real good-looking guy.
You must be a new member. I don't remember signing you up.
That's right.
They wanted to do a couple of films with me and him. The second film was called Sex Magic.
The premise of Sex Magic is a ring. It has magical properties.
The gods held sway over human sexuality and the moon.
These kind of magical things would happen. One of which was me as a window washer. And there was no ledge or anything like that. It was a window, and they strapped me onto the thing just with a strap and a belt. Best way to see New York. I mean, I was new to the town. I could see everything from there, and then we could plan your evening. The third film was Night at the Adonis.
I love this place.
The Adonis Theater in New York was on 8th Avenue. Originally, it was a vaudeville house. There was this new camera that had just come out called the Steadicam. There was only one Steadicam in New York, and it was being used for Sylvester Stallone's film. And Jack wanted it. When Jack wanted something, he could do anything. So he called over there. He said, I want to borrow your Steadicam just for the night. If you'll give it to me, I will give you a big cake. We had the Steadicam for one night. They actually followed me with this camera and a thing and up the stairs. Now, why would anybody bother with that? But to Jack, that really mattered.
Jack Wrangler was extremely focused. His desire to be an actor was always very evident. He loved to have lines and he loved to have close-ups. And I remember one time we showed him one of the scenes and his one comment was, well, you didn't use much of my face.
Do you want to roll that again?
And of course, for the money shot, all you had to do was tell him when you wanted it, and there it would be.
Let's get in there, yeah?
He was amazing that way.
He just knocked people out when he stepped on screen in that plaid shirt with the sleeves carefully rolled up and those skin-tight stovepipe jeans.
There was a response from the audience when he took off his shirt, and the die was cast, I think, from then on.
When I started to create this character, I knew I was going to have to take an awful lot of PR to put all this stuff across. We got to really put this thing through the roof.
Jack was the first person to brand himself as a porn star. He was the first person to make people remember his name. They went into theaters because Jack Wrangler's name was on the poster.
Yes, the incredible Jack Wrangler in a new film that surpasses anything you've ever seen him do.
Jack was also ahead of all the rest because he was an actor. He played sentiment.
I wanted to believe that eventually we could be together.
He played adventures.
Open up, you twisted bastard!
He played mysteries.
Did you call the police?
No. And I never will.
And of course, he played any number of sailors on leave.
George, can you believe that we have been on this ship for 3 months? I am so horny I could fuck a toad.
I can tell you which one lingers the most in my mind. It's navy blue.
I have something to tell you. I have something to tell you.
That was the only romantic film I think I ever did.
The electrical wiring is going from the 17th floor up. We got a good pump, man?
The New York construction company, I played a hard hat.
I haven't got the manpower around here.
Heavy equipment.
I want to get my rocks off.
It was a 3D porno movie, which you'd think actually would happen more often.
There would be a lightning flash. And that meant you put on your glasses.
What is going on here?
Oh, do you live here too?
A married man, yes. I remember it primarily because I wrote the title song for it. Smoggy City.
Smoggy City. It didn't take a long time at all to bring me down.
And at the Adult Film Awards, I sang it. Gemini was the only gay X-rated film that I went to the producer and said, I want to do this. I wanted to do a film about the black and white sexuality that's within all of us.
There's a ruggedness about the outdoors. You can feel the dirt and the grass next to your skin, and you can smell it.
Of course, we love jail films.
Okay, boy. Now I'm gonna give you what you really want.
Wanted, that was the movie. That was the denim shirts and the jail and the cops sticking their dicks through the bars.
You know, it's only a matter of time before he gets to us.
That was a fabulous movie.
Help!
He really went to town and lit up a lot of these films the way other lesser stars couldn't.
I'm in some trouble, Buck? Buster, oh, am I glad to see you.
What Jack did was make people look at his face in a porn movie.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not a musician. Sure as hell, I'm not an actor.
Jack had a playful side to him that transcended just hardcore bang-bang sex. It was fun watching Jack.
He truly knew what the audience wanted, and he gave it to them.
I figured if we really want to turn Wrangler into a household word, then we got to have merchandise. Jack Masters was our whole line.
There was the AccuJack, a device that was useful to assist.
It was like a vibrator, sort of, for men. A sleeve experience.
This thing had electricity. I put it on the floor first, and I turned it on, and the damn thing went crawling across the floor like it was looking for somebody.
I remember somebody showing me how you could plug it into the car, into the cigarette lighter. You get an adapter, that was it. These were serious users.
Jack Pack.
Oh my gosh, yes. It was like a pillow. You blew it up, and then you rubbed it back and forth.
You would get an instruction booklet with me showing you how to use it. I mean, like, what else would you do? And then there was Jack Cream, which was pH balanced and vitamin E enriched.
At that time, poppers, amyl nitrate.
You would sniff these things and then you got a high from them. And we did Jack Up, which was longer lasting highs, no headaches. But the crowning touch to all of this, they want to do a mold of your dick. And then they're going to turn that into a dildo and sell it as Jack Wrangler's cock. It's gonna be so classy because they're gonna be signed and numbered pieces. And I think, well, sure. They poured this stuff out of a mold on me, and it sat there. And they had to chisel it off. They said, what we'll do is just give you like 100 that you keep in the office. And I said, you're not gonna give me 100 that we're gonna keep in the office because I'm gonna have them like up in a closet. I'm gonna go in there, they're all gonna fall on my head. So we did a made to order. People could write to me, and every day I would go to the office, and I would answer every single one of them. And it was mainly guys that were having a hell of a time facing their sexuality. They could identify with me, and if I seemed to be so well adjusted about all this, they could adjust too. So I would send them letters encouraging them to be themselves.
He was an inspiration. He was an idol. The Jack Wrangler character had no concern about being gay. He had concern about being laid. Although we were all like that, we'd never been given permission to think of ourselves that way before. He was the first openly gay, butch, relaxed image that gay people had.
The energy that came through in his imagery was that it was healthy. There was nothing to be ashamed of.
So many kids grew up in that era associating being gay with being effeminate and weak, that they responded to a hyper-masculine role model. The Jack Wrangler fantasy was part of that. It was, see, this guy likes to have sex with men, but he's a real man. Only he's more real than most. He'll wear a leather jacket with no shirt. I mean, that's how real he is.
You got good thigh muscles.
He destroyed the stereotype of the limp-wristed fag. But he was a fag through and through.
Let's fuck.
One stereotype he certainly knocked down was the idea that you're either a top or a bottom. Macho as he looked, he did everything.
If you're going to be in the X-rated industry and you're going to be a male actor, then it'd be good if you're versatile in both areas.
Jack was legs in the air, husk of corn, you know, whatever comes his way.
I like my pictures life-size.
Once I'd made a bevy of movies, I chose to do personal appearances. All over the United States, San Francisco, Texas, New York, Washington, D.C., Minneapolis. I would go out on stages.
Can everybody hear me?
And tell people what I'd done and what it was like.
This is a lesson in stripping. If you're gonna do this stuff, the first thing you have to know is, first of all, how you smoke
a cigarette.
Oh my God, I remember walking in the theater in Washington and there was a line around the block. He drew. But his style of performing was kind of crazy because you're in a porn theater and people want to see sex. He came out and did stand-up comedy.
Whenever I appear live on stage, as opposed to appearing dead,
He'd stand for maximum distension of chest and say,
I am shorter than you thought.
but not when you're kneeling, and pull out his belt.
Jack Wrangler is a showman. He go on any stage. I could see you tap dancing. Why not?
You lift your eyebrows on the screen, it goes up 11 feet. You can imagine what everything else does.
It's theater. You do anything.
Most of these theaters that booked me assumed I was going to do something really raunchy. And I thought I was going to do Jack Benny.
They go dance and play around. You're dropping your cigarette.
At the very end, he ripped off his shirt, the pants were down, and blackout.
I started becoming much more comfortable being Jack Wrangler than I ever was as Jack Stillman.
Wrangler, I refer to him more in the third person. Jack Wrangler is an extension of myself, but it's a character that was created. Possibly some of the appeal of Wrangler is that he is vulnerable and he can be reached.
It was becoming more and more me. There was a feeling of this big weight being taken off my shoulders. It was like, yeah, that's going to relieve you of all the responsibilities you had as being Robert Stillman's son, all the sissy stuff. It helped my own personality get over an awful lot of things, a lot of baggage, a lot of emotional baggage. I just shed it.
That character becomes very much a part of the way you present yourself when you're out at night, too. When I go out, the people that I go home with are very special.
Jack always said, people go home with Jack Wrangler, but they wake up with Jack Stillman. Obviously, it was a good thing for him, career-wise and ego-wise, but I think it caused him some psychological confusion.
Being Jack Wrangler, I don't think was ever particularly good for my social life. I always thought they wanted me to be Jack Wrangler, and so I would perform for them. There was no real interaction whatsoever. I'd meet somebody and suddenly I'm the guy with the squint, when actually they weren't having any trouble with me just being me. Anybody I was ever close to in my life knew what had happened to me and my career because it was such gossip to people. They said, you want to know what happened to Jack Stillman? My sister Pam was always glad that I was the one that was doing outrageous things because then nobody picked on her. My mom, on the other hand, wanted me disinherited. She was very angry about it. I was told that my father purchased a couple of my gay films and had them screened in the screening room because he wanted to see how the kid was doing. I remember he said to me, I hope you always know what your next chess move is going to be. Everybody thought that I had a big plan, that there was a grand plan in all this, and I hadn't a clue. I was always aware that I was in a very small pond, and that whatever notoriety I had would be limited. I'd already gotten my feet wet. I might as well go for the whole shebang.
What was it that made you to decide to go from gay films to straight? Did you think you could become as big a superstar in straight films as you had
Well,
in
I
gay
felt
films?
it was part of the whole thing. It was all real contrived.
I realized it was time to open our spectrum to include the straight world in the X-rated field.
It sounds like a really fun party.
The straight market was there for him, and it was a chance to make better films.
Open your body and your mind to the most mature turn-on movie ever made.
The gay porn world was still more niche, whereas the heterosexual porn world was, at the time, exploding. There were bigger productions, bigger budgets. It was just better opportunity.
I do it for the money. Yeah, that's it. I do it for the money.
It's kind of funny to say, but it's like, it's a step up, you know?
The trouble with any of that is I'd never had sex with a woman in my life. But I figured, what's to know?
I'd like to have a shot at it.
First time he'd ever had sex with a woman was on camera. I seem to remember something about Asian twins or something.
China sisters. They cast these two girls, neither which were Chinese.
Show me where the boys groped you.
They had to make them up to beat these two China sisters. The makeup, of course, was put on with a trowel. I sort of plunged in.
I don't like this.
Now watch this. You think you're gonna mess it all up. You're not even sure where everything's supposed to go.
And then I did what we usually do in the X-ray films is you make a lot of noise. You're like, you know, going, oh, man. They stopped and said, you know, we don't really do that much in this trade. The girls kind of do it, but the guys don't. I said, oh, all right, so I had to tone that down. We finished the thing, and everybody applauded. They loved it! Because this, of course, is my first time.
If you don't find women fundamentally repellent, then you can certainly have sex with them. Like a dancer learning a new step.
There's a certain amount of control involved.
It's just performance.
They would put on the marquee when my scenes were in the sex world. It was a medium-sized big deal.
This is the 70s. This is the decade of sexual freedom.
During the day, it was perfectly acceptable for a guy to do gay porn and straight porn at the same time.
There wasn't the issue of HIV and AIDS, and there was a lot more crossover then.
Ooh, quite a stud, aren't you?
Nobody really stopped to think who was gay or straight because we were all having sex with each other on and off camera.
This is Chuck Vincent. He is the X-rated film producer and director. You are known for your classier porn films.
Chuck Vincent was one of the more respected and serious directors in the adult genre. What he brought was a certain theatrical quality, a real talent for storytelling, for humor.
His movies were somewhat like madcap comedies.
Oh, God. What's the matter, buddy? You don't like blondes?
The women loved working for him. They felt really comfortable, so I think it brought them out.
I started producing my own films to learn the motion picture industry.
He really was an auteur who stood on his own. His movies were very distinctive and had that stamp. You knew a Chuck Vincent movie as soon as it went on.
I think we all figured Jack was gay, you know, like Jack's gay, you know. But I don't think anybody minded or thought about it much.
Why don't you let me warm you up a little bit?
You are such a bad girl.
Whenever Chuck needed a really strong actor, Jack was one of the guys on the list.
You suckered me into it. What a waste of time. If it hadn't been for you, I could have gone to med school.
He could walk into a room, do his dialogue, lengthy dialogue, like 20-some pages, and then pull off his clothes, get rock hard, go right into the scene with no cuts. And Chuck loved that.
Ta-da! We did a film called Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill was with Samantha Fox. It was a sort of love story, husband and wife. It could have been a sitcom.
We were to be this swinger couple.
Swinging?
Yeah. Chuck felt that we could pull it off. He said, there's just one thing. Jack is gay. I had my concerns about that. You know, were we ever going to be able to have sex? Would he be mean to me? We certainly couldn't get along.
I want you to give me a show.
I'll give you a show.
We clicked instantly. We both knew our parts. We were pros, and Jack seemed to be fine having sex.
Okay, here's that hot cum you've been waiting for.
There was something special in the relationship that I had with Jack. It was such a great dynamic. They sent us on the road to sign autographs and promote the film. People just thought we were husband and wife.
We were all doing some decent performances, not that anybody probably that watched the film gave a damn. Chuck cared about it very much.
Good answer, Britt, huh?
And Chuck knew that I wanted roles where I could really do something with it, and so he carefully chose legit scenes for me.
Who's the client? Okay, it was her. She hired me.
And then, of course, Henri Pichard put him in The Devil and had him play the devil in Devil 2.
Don't you know there are no orgasms in hell?
The big moment was when he gets all excited and he jumps up and it shoots fire all the way across the room. Like a blowtorch. And my pajamas are all burnt and scorched.
Who authorized this? I never even heard anything about this.
The flaming cum shot. We had to put something over his penis that was loaded up with what they called tiger's breath, the special effect. Jack was nervous. You gotta be careful with special effects. Never try to use them in porn.
I wonder how those guys managed to keep hard-ons in all those movies.
No one judges anybody in the X-rated industry by any other thing than their ability to function. The great studs have to be able to function on cue.
This is not an easy job for men. You've got a camera this far away from your genitals, and you have to perform, you have to suck your stomach in, and you're never on a bed. You're on a bale of hay, steps, in the snow.
On a production that size, you probably got 20 people standing around waiting. Any guy would have a problem. And here's Jack. He's able to do it.
It does take often about 5 hours to shoot one 5-minute sex scene in an X-rated film. So you're not doing it with pure lust.
Jack would go off in a corner somewhere.
Then when he was ready, he'd come back.
And then everybody would quit, go to work.
Oh, laugh. You could get a hard-on with a pencil sharpener.
Jack's not a Hulk. He's minimal beefcake, more of an appetizer than a whole steak. I think that women probably liked that. He did not pose a threat to them. They didn't shudder when he walked into the room.
I'm much more concerned for a woman emotionally on the set than I am for a guy.
Pornography is about the women. The men are irrelevant. They are merely appendages.
The only thing I think that I did different being a gay man in that straight world is I was very conscious on how the girl looked while I was working with her, on angles and on shadows that I might cast.
Suck that fucking cock.
He had that ability to talk, to act, to fuck, to do everything.
Thank you.
And he was a gentleman to the ladies and whatever he needed to be to the men.
Last one undressed gets their navel kissed from the inside.
Apparently, Jack overcame whatever psychological or physiological problems there were for a gay man doing straight porn.
So good.
He became the #1 player in straight porn immediately.
You're the man.
It was all the buzz that Jack Wrangler was doing straight pornography. I, of course, assumed, being from the South, oh, so that's normal.
In my circle, it was like, what is he trying to prove?
There's the Oscar Wilde bookstore in New York that handles only gay material, and they will not handle any of my films.
Because they said Jack Wrangler isn't gay anymore.
I came to terms with Jack Wrangler doing straight porn because it was good.
And I want you to beg for it.
The screen personality was masculine.
I want that helicopter covering every inch of this lake.
Okay, Senator. And more believably masculine than a lot of the committedly straight.
Let's have a three-way.
He had the goods.
There was a restaurant in New York called Ted Hook's Backstage Restaurant. Any celebrity that was in town to do a movie always ended up at Ted Hook's because it was the most fun in town. Plus, they had lamps on the tables, and the lamp had the celebrity's name on it. Well, people loved that. I would go in there between shows, and I had a lamp. One night I was there, and there was this woman sitting in a booth with 3 guys around her. They were having the best time of anybody in the joint.
I'll tell you who I am. Margaret Whiting. And I am a singer.
Margot Whiting is a singer of the Great American Songbook who is, legendary. She had an enormous pop career in the 50s, had many hit records. When the sky is a bright canary yellow, I forget every cloud I've ever seen.
My mother is the daughter of the composer Richard Whiting. Growing up, she was surrounded by some of the most magnificent songwriters. People like Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney would come over, and they'd play songs they were working on, and with Mom, sing them.
She's one of the great songbirds of New York City.
I can't get it out of my heart.
I knew who Margaret Whiting was, and I had my lamp. So I thought, well, I could go over and meet this woman.
Somebody very attractive came over to the table. And he said, hello, how are you? I have a light here that says Jack Wrangler. And I said, well, you've got to be somebody important. What do you do? He said, I'm an actor. And the men I had with me all went like that.
The guys knew exactly who I was. Margaret stood up and said, Jack, I swear I've met you before. Turned out we grew up within about 5 blocks of one another. We'd also gone to the same elementary school, and that damn dancing school, the Tommy had a foxtrot and nothing else, she got into that one too.
So I said, what are you doing in town? He said, well, I'm doing an act. I said, well, I'm in the show, I'm doing a show. And I said, wonderful, I'd love to come see it.
We went the next night to see his act.
And so I'm very, very proud to be doing
Whatever it is I'm doing here, I'm there. Thank you.
And I did my strip thing, and guys that wanted to get off got off and everything. I assumed they weren't sitting next to Margaret.
He's on the stage, and I saw all these men kind of looking at him, and I thought it was funny.
That night I got on the Staten Island ferry thinking, that's the greatest woman I ever met in my life. I could fall in love with that woman. I never thought of falling in love with anything. I've been obsessed, but never really in love. I'm not straight. I'm not bisexual. I'm a gay man. So I thought, well, this is really stupid. The natural thing for me would have been to meet some guy and settle down with him. But I found out that I wasn't good living with guys. I was competitive, and there was never a different voice in the relationship. When I met Margaret, I saw someone that would feed me a different line and would have a different slant on something. And also, remember, this is a woman who grew up in my world. Went up to her apartment. It was this bright Kelly green room with these windows that looked out over this courtyard. There was all these pretty trees. And Margaret with all this hair that was like cotton candy on top of her head. And this great personality. Anything I said, she could undercut.
He was so charming and warm and dear. I just thought, this is a great guy.
Mom was always looking. She was married 3 times before meeting Jack.
She opens this thing at the Huntington Hartford Theater. It was called 4 Girls 4. That night, Margaret went on first, so we had some time before she had to take a bow at the end. We decided we'd go to this party at Paramount Studios. There was a guy that had been at the gate at Paramount for years and years. He said, how would you like to get in my little cart, and I'll take you around to all the sets where your fathers worked. It was a starry, beautiful night. Mara and I, with our drinks, got in the back of this thing, went all over the back lot of Paramount.
We rolled around for about an hour and had a wonderful time.
On the way back to the theater, we passed this store that had, must have been 9-foot-high teddy bear, the biggest teddy bear I'd ever seen in my life. And I said, now that's a hell of a teddy bear.
I said, you're kidding, Jack. He said, no, I love it.
It arrived on my doorstep the next morning.
I knew that she was smitten. She was like a little kid, brightened up her whole life. And everyone was like, who is he? And she'd whip out these pictures. There's one picture of him in the buff, and this is the picture she was showing to the girls. They thought Margaret had lost her mind.
Would my friends understand that I'm going with a porn star?
They didn't think anything was gonna come of it. It was just a passing fancy. And then this hunk comes off the airplane, and we're like, what is going on?
I really didn't think anything seriously for a while. We just had a good time. And then all of a sudden, there we were. I realized I loved him. And then nothing could stop me.
We would go out to dinner and talk, a lot of talk. Margaret said, what the hell are you doing in Los Angeles? In New York, you could do anything. She says, there's nothing to do with me. You should live in New York. And I said, well, I guess you're right. She said, and you should live with me. I just said,